and welcome back to my Lawn Bowls for Fun channel. Firstly, apologies that it's been such a long time since I've posted anything, but life outside bowls has been quite busy for me, and what with COVID and getting back to some sort of normality, meeting up with family again, and I've got grandchildren, and the bowling season throughout May has been appalling. The weather, I've not been able to do any videos outdoors at all. I had planned to do one outdoors today because now finally the weather's improved, but blow me, I got up this morning and it's been tipping down with rain all day again. So there we go, just the way it goes. I have been actually busy answering questions of various subscribers that I have, and I would like to thank all those people that have asked me questions, and thank for all those people that have subscribed to my channel. It's absolutely amazing that I've got nearly 1,500 subscribers now, and that is fantastic, way beyond what I ever expected. So let's make a start. I was going to do this at the bowling club because I think that if you're going to do a video about bowling, it's nice to be on a bowling green on a nice sunny day. But it isn't sunny, it's tipping down with rain still, and it's going to be like that for the next few days. And for the next few days I've actually got a bit of spare time, so I thought, as the subject I'm going to be discussing, I don't need to be on a bowling green, I thought I'd do it from my little bolt hole here and answer some questions. The first question I've been asked by a couple of people now is, when you're a new bowler, is what's expected of me? When am I ready to start bowling in proper games? Well, okay, I'll tell you what I do, tell you what we do at our club anyway. From our point of view, we don't expect you to do anything but enjoy yourself, and that's the single most important thing. So when you're ready, when we feel you're ready, we will suggest you start playing games. Usually it varies. Some people after 4 or 5 lessons are ready to go, and others take longer. It doesn't matter, we're not in any hurry. We'll take as long as it takes to get you ready before you start bowling in any sort of games. But initially what we do is we normally expect new bowlers to have a few roll-ups with experienced members of the club, just to sort of get them used to playing in team games. We have regular roll-ups at our club, and we try and mix people in and ease them in very, very slowly. We don't want to throw you in the deep end and get you playing in a competitive match before you're ready for it. In fact, we find that people are quite reluctant, new people are quite reluctant to get involved. They're worried that they're not good enough, and that's not often the case. I think sometimes they don't see how well they're really bowling for a new bowler. So we will watch carefully, and when we feel you're ready to start playing with other people, we will tell you. And initially, when you start playing in, other than roll-ups, when you start playing in, for example, friendlies, now they're a very good game to start with, because a friendly game is exactly what it is. It's a friendly game, and yes, we're out to win it if we can, but it's just a friendly against another club, and the result, although it would be nice to win, isn't as important as enjoying the occasion. And in those games, you would expect, if it's a rinks game, we would put a new person probably in the number 2 spot, which I'll cover. I'm going to cover the different positions in more detail later in this video, because that's been another one of the questions. But we would often put a new person at 2, possibly at lead if we feel they're doing well enough. But we don't want to put you under any pressure initially. And we'll play you with, you'll play with other experienced bowlers that will guide you and help you if there's any questions. So yeah, what's expected of you? Just enjoy yourself, and that's the most important thing, more than anything else. And we won't force you to take something or do something you don't think you're ready for. But the next question was the different formats of the game. Now, there's a very, very good book. I want you to show you this little book here. This is produced by Bowls England, and it's the guidance for new bowlers. And this is a brilliant little book, and we have the copies of these at our club, and whenever we have a new member join the club, we give them one of these, which are free of charge. I think they cost a couple of pounds, but we don't charge members for that. And in this little guidance, it really does cover all the basics you need to know. There are other books you can buy on the subject. This is quite a good book, just a book on bowls. It's by ANC Black as the publishers, and that's quite a straightforward book. It's only £6.99. It might have gone up in price a bit now, but it's quite a nice, here we are, little book, which is a good little read, and it's nothing too complicated. Lots of sort of colour plates and various graphics on where to stand and on what constitutes a singles game and a pairs game and where you stand, etc. So that's quite a nice book. There's another one, in fact this is my favourite book, the Crowwood Sports Guys of Bowls, and that's £9.99. I got that from Amazon. I think I got it about a pound cheaper than that. And this is another excellent book. I'll show you. You can't see very easily there, but again, full of colour plates on how to bowl. And in fact, everything that I show a new member, a new bowler, is covered in this book. So it's a good thing if you are being taught to play bowls, to buy a book as well. And as you learn from the coach and you read up on here as well, it's always a good thing to have both. And there's another book which is, I've only just started reading this one, by Patrick Holbert, this one here. This one goes quite a bit into psychology of bowls, so it may be not ideal maybe for a new person straight away to read, but it goes into psychology and the teamwork and the tactics. It's not really what I would call an ideal book for a new bowler, although it does cover some of the easier things, some of the things that you would show a new bowler. But I think it's quite, say there's even physical exercises. It's something that would be lower down on my list of books to read for a new bowler. But it's still a very good book. So the formats of the game. So if you look on this this guidance for bowls book, I'll zoom in on the pages I'm talking about. You can see there the most common formats of the game of outdoor bowls are, first of all, the singles game, and this is for 2 players with 4 bowls, and the winner is the first one to reach 21 shots. That is the most common singles game, but we at our club, and I know other clubs do, have also a 2-wood singles game, which is not played the first one to score 21 shots. It's after 21 ends. So it's a slightly different format. And for that game, you need a marker, and a marker keeps the score. He centres the jack, makes sure the mat is centred. He measures if you require measuring. He's basically an independent person that's helping you, assisting with you to keep the game going. In all other team games, you don't need a marker, but in a singles game, you do. The 2-wood game, incidentally, as I said, over 21 ends. But you find also sometimes that if say for example you're 19-10 up, so you're leading by 9 shots and there's only 4 ends to go, then the most that can be scored in those 4 ends would be 8 shots. So the game would end after 17 ends with 4 ends to go. They can't catch up that score. So that's why sometimes the 2-wood game is a very fast game, and it's usually over in less than an hour, and you spend a lot of time just walking up and down the green because you've only got 2 bowls each. But as I said earlier, the main sort of singles game is a 4-wood game, and it's the first one to score 21 shots. Then there's the pairs game. So that's 2 teams of 2, each usually with 4 bowls. That's quite common. There again, you do get 2-wood games with 2 or even 3 bowls, but they're quite rare. Usually it's with 4 bowls. and the winner is the team after 21 ends have been played. If after 21 ends have been played, it's a draw, then you play an extra end. The next format is triples, which are 2 teams of 3 players each, as you can see. They're usually with 3 bowls. Again, I have seen triples played with just 2 bowls, but usually it's with 3 bowls, and therefore it would normally be played over 18 ends. And the same idea is with the rinks. After 18 ends, if the score is the same, then you'll play an extra end. And then the final one is the fours, or what are sometimes called a rinks game. 2 teams of 4, each with 2 bowls each. You never play any more than 2 bowls each in a rinks game. The winner is the team with the most shots, again, like the pairs, after 21 ends. So they're the different formats that you can play. It is fair to say that most leagues that you play in, if you start playing league games, are either triples or rinks. You sometimes get pairs leagues, but not very often. They're usually triples or rinks. Right, so of those different formats, each team game, if you like, if you call it a team game, the member has a particular role, and that was the next question that I was asked, was what are the players' duties in each position. So I'll go through that now. I'll refer to the book because it does describe it very well, but I'm going to add a little bit more to that. So let's look at, first of all, let's go in order, and I'm talking about a rinks game here, or a game with 4 people on each team. So first of all, the lead, and the lead is the first person to play in your team. They place the mat, they deliver the jack, and they centre it before attempting to bowl as close as possible to that jack. Now, at the beginning of a game, you normally toss to see which side has the mat, and then they place that mat on the green. And I've covered this in another video, but I'm just going to go over it again briefly. You can place the mat anywhere you like, as long as the front of the mat is at least 2 meters from the ditch. And then there's another marker further up the green where you can take the mat up to. So there's quite a variety of different positions that you can lay the mat down. Now, if you place the mat on the 2 meter mark, if you've got, say, for example, you've got a person in your team that's not very good at long jacks. So it makes sense, if you put the mat on the 2 meter mark, then don't send a jack all the way down the green, because they're going to struggle. Usually, I mean, I've been playing lead for many years, and if I know the people I'm playing with, I'd know their strengths and weaknesses, and I would try and put the mat to our advantage. If you don't know the people you're playing with, you can always, it's always nice to ask the skip where he wants you to put the mat and the jack. Usually 9 times out of 10, they'll just say, you put it where you can get to it. In other words, they'll leave it up to you. It's very important that the lead gets on that jack early to put the other team under pressure. So if you've got a person playing in your team that you know struggles on long jacks, then don't put a long jack up. Obviously, keep it short. Sometimes, though, when you play to a length that you feel is right for the team, but you're still losing, you might want to change something. If the other team is still beating you, so when you win an end and then you decide where you're going to place the mat, take it up the green a bit. Don't have it in the same place, because if you change something, it's often, surprisingly, how much it can help. It can change things around. Of course, ideally, if you're finding you're losing on short jacks, you want to put up long ones, and hopefully that'll do the job, but not if you've got a person that struggles on those long jacks. So you need to really be aware, and it's really important for a lead to be able to put the jack where he feels it is to their team's advantage. So as a specialist lead, I spent many sessions when I first started bowling, going out to the bowling club, and I just sent jacks up the green, didn't use bowls at all. I just, time after time, I'd spend half an hour. I'd take 3 jacks, and I put 1 at short length, 1 at medium length, and 1 at long length, and I would practice and practice and practice until I got that right. Then I would move the mat up the green and try it again. So it's not a case of just putting the mat down anywhere and sending a jack up the green. You've got to really think about what you're doing, and you've got to practice it, because it's not an easy thing to do sometimes to get that jack exactly where you want it to your team's advantage. The lead is a really important position, which is why it's a bit unfair putting a new person in that position, because first of all they've got to put the mat down and place the jack in the right position, and there's a lot of pressure on them really. So I wouldn't recommend a new person playing in that position straight away, although some can do it very effectively. But it is an important position, because as soon as you can get a bowl on that jack or near to the jack, then the opposing team, you're putting them under pressure, and that's what your job is, to put the opposing team under pressure. So that's the lead's job. It's important that the lead and the two almost play as a team. I like playing two. A lot of people don't. This is where often a new player will play in the number 2 slot, because they haven't got the pressure of being the lead, and they're not experienced enough to play 3 or skip yet. So often in a rinks game is where a new person will play. Not always, but it's a good position to play. But the number 2 has got an important role as well. I'll read out what it says in the book. It says here, the second play after the leads. Incidentally, the leads, although you probably know this, that you take turns. You know, you play your first bowl and your opposition lead plays theirs. Then you play your second bowl, then your opposition plays, and then it's the 2s to play. And then they play their 2 bowls as well in turn. The second may be asked to play a variety of different shots by their skip, depending on what the leads have done. But if the lead doesn't get on there, it's the responsibility of the 2 to try and draw near as well. And it's still very much, usually anyway, a drawing game. Try and draw your bowl as near to that jack as possible. There are occasions when sometimes, if for example the opposition have got 3 bowls on the jack and they're all in a straight line and it's quite a big target, the skip might ask the number 2 to have a go at those bowls, you know, put a bowl down with a bit more weight to try and split them up. So it's useful for even a 2 to sometimes know how to, not necessarily fire, because firing is a difficult shot to do, but to put controlled weight down the green so that they hit those target bowls and split them up a bit. And so sometimes the skip will ask the 2 to do that. Then we got the person playing 3. So the 3 may be called upon to play different shots as well, like the 2 has just been asked to do, or to even play a tactical bowl to protect an advantage. In addition, the 3rd also is responsible for advising the skip, letting them know what's happening in the head, agreeing the number of shots with their opposing number 3 each end, and measuring if required. So this is where the number 3 tactically should know how to read ahead. They should know what is a good position and what isn't. For example, a good 3 will know that if they're holding 2 or 3 shots, but there's 2 or 3 opposition bowls further up the green, and the jack might be a bit exposed, and he might prefer to tell his skip to put a bowl amongst those opposing bowls. In other words, cover the back. So he needs to be able to read ahead, be aware of the situation, and advise the skip. Incidentally, the skip, when he goes to bowl, has already seen the head, so you shouldn't really, the 3 shouldn't really tell the skip what to do with his first bowl. He's been in the head, he knows what he's doing. I made that mistake many years ago when I first started. I told a very experienced lady bowler the shot she should do, and she got quite annoyed with me. She said, "Don't tell me what to do with my first bowl. I've been to the head, I should know." And I've never forgotten that, so I had a bit of a slap on the wrist. And it's a good thing to remember, don't tell the skip what to do with their first bowl. If things haven't changed, again, it's pretty obvious what sometimes the shot is going to be. But if something has changed, then you need to let the skip know what's happened in the head, and so he's fully aware of the advantages or disadvantages of doing a particular shot. When you come to agree the shots, when the end is finished, it's the 3 that will be agreeing with the opposing number three how many shots they hold, and it's only between you two. Everyone else should keep out of it. Don't get involved. Just let the two number threes decide how many shots are being held. There's nothing wrong in reminding your number three, if he's got a bowl behind him, you remind him there's another bowl there, just in case he's forgotten that he's standing in front of it. But you shouldn't get involved any more than that. Just let the two number threes go on. There's nothing worse than talking about who's got shot and someone else starts interfering. So try not to get involved in that. Stand back. And of course, once they've agreed the number of shots, they tell the skip what's happened. The final position is the skip. Okay, let's read what it says in the little book. The skip has the overall responsibility for the rink and should be an experienced and capable player. To offer assistance to his new bowlers, the skip's duties include directing and developing of each end. So he will explain as the end progresses, he'll tell the rest of his team members what he wants them to be doing. Overall responsibility of the rink. Settling any disputed points with the opposition skip, especially in the event of no umpire being present. So it's the two skips that, if there is a problem, they have to sort it out. The skip is also responsible for the scorecard. This changed a few years ago. Always used to be the number two that was responsible, but a few years ago the World Bowls Organisation decided to change it, that the skip should have the card. But he can delegate another member of his team to keep the score if he wishes. But it is very advisable that if you do that, that your opposition team do the same. So either have both the number twos could do it, for example, but they should either both do it or both not do it. The reason is because as the game progresses, sometimes it's a good idea to compare your cards to make sure you've got the same score on each card. If you make a mistake early on, it's difficult sometimes to rectify it at the end. You can't remember what happened, or so you really should, every so often, I do it sort of 3 or 4 times at least in a game, I compare my card to my opposition's card to make sure there's no errors. The skip's also got the responsibility of making sure that he gets the best out of his team, and this is where I feel a lot of skips let themselves down, sadly. They may be a very, very good bowler, but sometimes their management skills or the way that they talk to people, the way they manage their team, I'm afraid, lets them down. Everybody that turns up to have a game of bowls turns up and hopes they're going to play well. It's obvious. We all want to be a brilliant bowler. Some days, for whatever reason, it doesn't happen like that. You just have an off game or you play a bad shot. Having a skip have a go at you about that is the last thing you need. So when I first started bowling many years ago, the chap that taught me said, if you're going to skip, unless you've got something positive to say, don't say anything at all. If someone puts up a really poor shot, don't shake your head in disbelief. Don't turn your back and walk away, or don't say you're short or you're too wide or what are you doing? You don't need that. The player themselves know they played a bad shot. They don't need reminding. So always try and find something positive to say. If they bowled very, very wide, but the weight is right, say, oh, the weight was good. You don't have to say it's wide. They can see that. And again, if they got the line perfectly, but they're 2 or 3 yards short, just say, yeah, that good line. If it's short by just a yard, it's good to let your, especially with the length, the line you can generally see whether you're near the jack or not, but sometimes with length you can't. So it's never any harm saying just a yard, you need another yard on your last bowl, or that was gone a yard through or 4 feet through. There's nothing wrong with saying that. But when, I don't know, you hit the ground and the bowl ends up 4 yards short, you don't need someone saying, oh, you're 4 yards short, unnecessary. So please, if you're going to skip, if you haven't skipped before, always try and find something positive to say, or just keep quiet. And always encourage your team as well. A little bit of encouragement goes a long way. And even the other team members, if a member of your team bowls a good bowl, say, well done, congratulations, good shot. And a little bit of encouragement never does any harm at all. So the skip, as I say, is really, really important. You have to have a very positive attitude. You have to have good communications with your three. In fact, when you get a three and a skip, communicate well. It can make all the difference in the game. If you know your strengths and weaknesses as well. And that is really important. Sadly, I'm a little bit hard of hearing, so when I play three or skip, sometimes I have to, I don't hear clearly what my partner is saying. Not so, it doesn't cause a big problem, but certainly I am sometimes aware of missing things. So most of the people I know well know that I'm hard of hearing, and they make it quite clear what they're saying to me by hand signals, or and if there's any doubt, I can go up and check the head myself anyway. The other responsibilities of the skip is entering the names of all the players of both teams on the scorecard, although usually a team captain, if it's a team game, will do that for the team. Recording the scorecard, all the shots scored for and against the team as the end is completed. Comparing the scorecard with that of the opposition area I mentioned earlier, opposition skip as each end is completed. It's really worth double checking that. And at the end of the game, recording the scorecard, the time the game finished. You sign both cards and you agree that both cards, and they should say the same thing. If you hand in a card and they both got different results on, then there's a problem, isn't there? Someone's made a mistake. So make sure you check the card and you sign it to say you agree with it. Both skips should sign both cards. So that's really about it for today. I say I wanted to cover the few questions I've been asked by various people. What's expected of me, which I've now explained, the different formats of the game, and what the players' duties are in those games. I hope you find that useful. I'll try and get another video done in the next few weeks when the weather improves. Hopefully it'll be from the bowling green rather than my little bolt hole here. This is my little hobby room. I do various things out here. Don't usually do videos out here, but say the weather's so appalling today, I decided I'd do it here instead of leaving any longer and finding I haven't got time to do it. So a big thank you again for all those people that are subscribed, and do keep the questions coming in. I'll always try and answer them within a few days of them been sent in, or I'll do a video to explain it. And I hope you enjoying your bowls, hoping you're enjoying the summer. We've had a lovely couple of weeks of sunshine here in England. I say it's raining. We got a bit of rain and thunder the next few days, but then hopefully next week the sun will come out again. So enjoy your bowling, and I'll see you again soon.